So, of all the games based on Disney's Aladdin to play first, the two most famous are the Super Nintendo and Mega Drive games, mainly for their roles in the console wars. Instead, I decided to do one of the least talked about Aladdin games, the Master System one. Please nobody, that's how I roll. As a 3-year-old, this was one of my absolute favourite films, and I must have drove my parents up the wall rewatching that video constantly. I haven't watched it as much over the years, I'd say less than 10 times in the last 20 years. I'm not a guy who's really into the Disney films the way other people are, but I still have some I remember fondly, and I have affection for this particular film above all the others. So when we start the game, we see Aladdin acting shifty in front of a stall selling either bread or human arses, it's hard to tell. When we get a close-up, we see he's actually stealing an American football before he runs off and that main palace guard whose name I forget chases him. And so the first level is an auto-scroller. Aladdin runs on his own and I have to jump to avoid barrels and falling into holes, along with moving myself closer to and further away from the palace guard whose name I forget to avoid falling objects like flower pots. I can take 6 hits before I fail, but there are apples I can grab that restore 1 point of health. I jump too early at a hole and fall in, but it's fine because I have infinite lives. At this point I should point out we do have some music from the film, as One Jump Ahead plays here. I didn't expect they'd even bother getting the rights for 8-bit renditions for the version of the game the smallest amount of people would play. This time I avoid death and run off screen to end the level. We next get the scene where a disguised Jasmine gives the kid an apple from that one guy's stall and gets threatened. So Aladdin passes by, has Abu jump on the guy's face and runs off with Jasmine. Level 2 is another auto runner, with Jasmine following behind me but no one chasing. This time I'm running across the rooftops, still dodging the usual stuff, but this time the surface is no longer all flat, so I have to jump up small steps too. There's also the gaps between roofs, some of which are higher than the one before them, leading to me falling down the first gap. You don't have to worry about Jasmine, as she has perfect reflexes and doesn't hit anything. I don't know if this level is shorter than the first, but it feels like it and I finished it in no time. We get the scene where they both pole vault over the roofs and then talk while overlooking the entire city. The guard shows up and we get the "do you trust me" moment, leading to them dropping between more guards and Jasmine dropping her disguise and revealing her identity as princess. They say they have orders straight from Jafar, so she goes to confront him and clear up that Aladdin didn't kidnap her, only for Jafar to pull the "we already had him beheaded" lie. This version of the story makes him being evil even more obvious, as when Jasmine falls to her knees and cries, Jafar says nothing and struts off in the most insulting way. This is followed up with Jafar in the old man disguise telling Aladdin about the Cave of Wonders and the lamp and making the deal to sneak him out of prison. They violently vibrate in front of the cave's entrance before it tells Aladdin to touch the lamp and nothing else. After those first 2 levels, I was expecting the entire game to be an auto-runner. But no, 3 levels in, I finally have full control. I can walk, double tap to run, and jump. I can cling onto ledges when I jump straight upwards. I then somehow, without ever playing this game before, anticipate all the boulders the game will try and drop on me and avoid them all before I reach the stairs to the next floor. I take a running jump at this platform, duck to avoid a bat, but then the platform falls and drops me into a pit. It turns out I never needed to duck, the bat flies over me. I then get stuck at this hole and try everything I can to crawl under it. While running, I can slide, which gets me to the stairs further down. I see some spikes popping out of the floor, but instead stay jumping along the top, thinking I outsmarted it. But I find the path ahead blocked by a door, so I have to go back and avoid the spikes to stand on the switch that opens it. Going through the door gets me the gold... is it a scarab? I can't remember. These are the checkpoints. I go up these stairs and keep going right until I can pick up a rock that I can throw at this switch on the wall to open another door to some more stairs. The next room is short, jumping across gaps avoiding bats and water geysering from below. There's a key on the opposite side of this wall, but I go down the stairs. Going right a little takes me to another door I can't open, so I figure I need that key. I die on the way back, but it's fine, it just sends me back to where I need to go. After the checkpoint, I instead go under the stairs and do a bit of climbing and jumping to grab the key. I return to the door and go through, finishing this level. We're now in all the piles of treasure while the magic carpet sneaks up from behind. Aladdin asks if it will show them to the lamp and it sets off and signals them to follow it. And so for level 4 I always have the magic carpet floating above me. There's holes in the floor to jump over and I just walk right into the second one. There are still bats and boulders to avoid as I keep heading right. I see this treasure chest and crouch to pick it up since it stands out from everything else. Instead I get boulders dropping on me and killing me. Then I remember, touch nothing but the lamp. As I keep going, the cave tries to tempt me with more stuff. A giant jewel, a crown and a second chest before I reach the end of the level. We reach the end of the cave where Abu breaks off from Aladdin to look at a certain jewel. Aladdin goes up the stairs and grabs the lamp. But Abu touches the jewel and causes the Cave of Wonders to start collapsing. The magic carpet abandons Abu and catches just Aladdin instead. So for level 5 I'm controlling the magic carpet, avoiding falling debris and rising lava. Soon after I start I also manage to grab Abu. Unlike the Super Nintendo game, which I'm used to, getting hit once isn't an instant kill. and there's still bread and apples to grab for a heal, although some bits of food are placed in a way that forces you to take damage anyway. Bread is a full heal and there's plenty of it, so I don't have to worry, and it's not long before I reach the end. Aladdin loses the carpet and we get the scene where Jafar tries to take the lamp and abandon Aladdin to his death, but fails. And of course this leads to the scene where Aladdin rubs on the lamp and is introduced to the genie. We skip the song and go right to Aladdin calling the genie out of the free wish. We get the talk about the genie's desire for freedom and Aladdin promising it to him before he uses his first wish to become a prince. He states his intent to return to the palace, and as level 6 starts, he's already there. Considering at this point in time the Master System had mostly become a dumping ground for the low budget side games for people who didn't move on to the Mega Drive, I was honestly impressed they actually made an entire second set of sprites for Aladdin's prince outfit. It's always nice to see the previous generation consoles still get games with actual care put into them even when they're on their way out. I end up chased by a guard but accidentally slide into a pit instead of jumping over it. So yeah, instead of the Prince Ali segment, it's Aladdin puzzle platforming his way through the palace alone. All the way to the left is a key, and in front of the first hall I can jump up to reach some stairs. I go right, grab a rock and use a key to unlock a door. There's another key I can see blocked off by the wall. I jump up and try to slide past the guard, but touching him results in an instant death. Instead I have to throw the rock at him and run past while he's stunned. I take another rock and drop down below, then go right again to some stairs back to the first floor, for 2 more rocks. I go back up and all the way left so I can take the stairs to the 3rd floor. Right above where I start is another key. Then it's all the way right, unlocking a door, dodging a falling chandelier, and up some stairs to the 4th floor. I go right, avoiding more chandeliers and stoning guards until I can climb around some stairs back down to the 3rd floor. Here I can grab a checkpoint, stun another guard, and go down to the 2nd floor. I can see that key I couldn't grab earlier, but it has its own locked door keeping me from it. I fuck up when I try to climb to a higher platform and instead launch myself into a pit. Good thing I just got that checkpoint. I head all the way to the right to be blocked by another door, so I go down the stairs in front of it. To the left there's a locked door with a switch under it that I throw a rock into, so that I can go through it, grab a key and go up the stairs. This takes me behind the door with that other key. I unlock the door, grab the key and return to the other locked door to open it and get another checkpoint. But then there's another locked door right in front of me. The guard can somehow see me through walls, so I have him charge at me and stand on a switch that opens the door. I go right and up the first set of stairs I see. There's a guard to stun and the key to pick up behind him, but he recovers just as I'm walking past him and he catches me. I get the key again and go back to the previous floor. I keep moving right to another set of stairs and go up those. I go left, stunning the guard and making a run for the next set of stairs. Up here I throw a rock at a switch to open a door and then right after use my key on another door. That level felt like an eternity. I've currently spent 40 minutes in this game and that level took up 10 of those minutes. We get the scene where Aladdin introduces himself to the Sultan and his and Jafar's debate over marrying Jasmine pisses her off. Then Jafar begins his plot to make Aladdin disappear. Next is the scene where Aladdin tries to win Jasmine over. Raja gets to appear in this game, but only as a head poking in from off screen. Then the rest of it. If you're watching this, you know how it goes. Level 6 is the A Whole New World scene, with an 8-bit version of the song. In this universe's version of events, Aladdin and Jasmine are under siege from birds, and Aladdin crashes the carpet into the ground at high speeds within seconds and kills both of them. So yeah, I'm not just avoiding the birds, those buildings I thought were part of the scenery are actually fatal to touch. And also can't forget those thunderclouds trying to shoot them down, the true villain of the film. And Olympic high jumping horses, and tornadoes. And then the land just ends, so I assume we're in space now. When all these trees show up I nearly shit myself thinking they're physical objects like the buildings and I can't avoid them. After dodging a load of falling apples, I can see Agrabah again, so I assume I've looped the planet. After that we get the fireworks and it's the end of the level. Once again, not going into detail, watch the film. Jasmine rumbles Aladdin's disguise until he digs himself deeper into his lie. He drops her off. Aladdin gets ambushed by Jafar and a guard and pushed off a cliff while tied up. He accidentally uses his second wish to save himself. Aladdin confronts Jafar in the throne room and instead of using magic to disappear, he just gently floats into the air and off screen for Aladdin to chase him. We're back to an auto runner that cheaply drops a chandelier on my head before I can even register it's there. Jafar will also drop fireballs that travel along the floor and have lightning bolts strike the screen. Add to that the usual holes I have to jump over. Jafar casts a second fire spell that's taller, making it harder to jump over. I get hit and forced into a pit. A couple attempts later, I make it even further, but a dickhead chandelier falls on me and drags me into a pit. Eventually the longest corridor in the world has to come to an end and Jafar is cornered. I chuckled a bit at how the next scene went. We fade in and Jafar just silently decks Aladdin in the face with his staff. He knocks the lamp out of his clothes, letting Jafar know he has it before he escapes. We then get the scene where Aladdin and Jasmine become engaged and Aladdin starts to be nervous over becoming Sultan one day. This time, instead of a row with the genie over wanting to keep him around, Aladdin just says that part to himself and walks away. Iago steals the lamp. The Sultan presents Aladdin to an off-screen public, but everyone begins vibrating as the genie shows up under Jafar's ownership. He wishes to be Sultan and the most powerful sorcerer ever, reveals Aladdin's true identity, and sends him flying away, only to be caught by the magic carpet immediately this time and taken straight back. Jafar's not very happy about Aladdin not being dead for a third time and traps Jasmine in an hourglass before starting a fight. Jafar will create a floating sword and cast fire spells at my feet. The sword will drop and I have to grab it, get close to Jafar and hit him. It can be a pain with the fire spells, but you just have to get in close once and keep mashing and there's nothing you can do about it. Once he takes enough hits, he transforms into his snake form. He still spits the fireballs but can also spit another projectile that bounces along the screen. Damage is indicated by him moving further off the screen. But because I took so much damage on the first phase, he kills me. I get him next time, it's not many hits. Jasmine is freed, but Jafar gets in a cheap shot. Aladdin plays him by telling him he isn't as powerful as the genie. He uses his final wish to become a genie himself, causing himself to become trapped in his own lamp, which the genie sends flying away. Then we get the usual ending. Aladdin apologises for lying, Genie suggests using the final wish to become a prince again, Aladdin instead uses it to give the genie his freedom, the Sultan shows up and changes the law so that Jasmine can marry Aladdin without him being royalty, the genie puts on his goofy hat and fucks off. Then the credits. I like this game. Is it my favourite Aladdin game? No, far from it. Will probably be ranked in the 70s when I get around to editing the ranking. But there were certainly worse ways to spend an hour in the afternoon. It's a fun enough platformer, slower paced than other games but the levels were made with that in mind. It tells just about all the story with very accurate dialogue and the bits that were cut were fine to leave out. More than anything, I appreciate that they actually went and made an entirely new game. They could have just done what the Game Boy and NES did and had a downgraded port of the Mega Drive game. Honestly, they didn't need to make this game, but I'm glad that it exists and that it was fun.